Jeff? Jeff? You there? You still gonna write this, or are you just giving up? Seriously, you're so close to the reveal of me as the mastermind behind the murders. You know what to do, just write, "It's me, Leanne. It was me all along, Leanne. You thought I got impaled and died, but that was just my twin brother Maxwell. You and the others all bought it, and you were made fools of." After that, you'll know where to go from there. Seriously, don't let this go to waste, man. You're a bloody talented writer. Look, I know you've been cooped up in here. These past few months haven't been ideal, but come on. This has been the best time for you to do it. But you've only gone and done the odd page here and there. If you don't do this now, you'll never do it. If not for me, think of the audience. And Sally. Yeah, she'd have a field day with a twist like me pretending I'm dead throughout the story, then finding out it was really my twin brother who died and that I was the one pulling the strings. Jeff, this story's a roller coaster, and I don't want to see you waste it. I don't know if I can get through to you, but I'm begging you. Laptop to reality. Fictional character to real life human. Please, forget the fact you're probably not going to be at work until next year and finish this story.
Hello, Johnny. Darling, it's Norman Normal. Yes, long time no hear. How are you? Good, good. Oh dear, your aunt. Oh no. Tell me, was that the aunt you liked or the one you hated? Oh good. Well, at least you didn't like her. That's any comfort. Me? I've been fine, yes. Missing the cut and thrust of the day-to-day business of being a theatrical agent. Even started doing exercise. Yes, well, when we're in complete lockdown and the government said you had to do an hour's exercise, I took them at their word. Never done exercise before, but I thought it was now part of the rules. It was dear Alicia Farquhar told me it wasn't compulsory. Yes, it was all so confusing at the time, wasn't it? No one knew what they were supposed to do. Well, yes, Johnny, of course. Well, the reason for my call is to see that now we're opening up again, if you have any spots for any of my acts. What about Harry Shakes, the knife thrower? Like, I know he's 79, but he's still got it. He's given me his word he's kicked in the booze, and he has had an up-to-date eye test. No? Oh, well, let's see. I can't offer you the trapeze artists. They refuse to socially distance. They keep on insisting on swinging together. It's fine on the upswing, but then physics takes over. What about my fire eater, Freddie Curry? He did set fire to the compare's trousers, but that was an accident. We put the fire out very quickly. Just make sure you're not wearing anything combustible, that's all. You will be standing 2 meters away anyway. Also, he told me he started juggling to make the act a bit more exciting. Yes, he does live on Acacia Avenue. Yes, a house did burn down there. Okay, let's see. Well, what about me? Yes, me. I was an actor in a comic back in the 80s. I trained at RADA, you know. Yes, really. I made a pilot for a TV series called Everything's Normal. It wasn't picked up. Everything was about alternative comedy in those days. The TV execs thought I was too, well, normal. I've been writing one new act in lockdown. If it's all the same for you, I prefer to perform to you face to face. Because I think we lost something important when we closed down the theatres. Art, especially performance art, is about touch. It touches people in all sorts of different ways. It's comedy, drama, opera, ballet. Even a knife thrower can't throw or touch someone. Human beings need theatre. We need stories to make sense what being a human being is all about. That's what I think, anyway. So I don't want to audition over Zoom or Skype. I want to perform for you, because that's the only way to communicate face to face. You'll see me. Thanks, Johnny. Get ready for the new normal.
How beautiful the earth looks this morning. Everywhere bathed in light, bright, sparkling. I gaze out of my side window and see a world lit by the sun aglow with promise. All round is darkness, but the earth shines with expectation and hope. 112 days I've been alone. Long days where I had to be totally self-sufficient, making sure all my needs were met, making sure my space was clean and tidy, hygienic. Now my isolation will soon be over. The end's fast approaching. I'll see familiar faces, feel the wind in my hair and the sun's heat on my face. I cannot wait for the warmth of my loved ones around me again. It's been very lonely these past weeks, but I've learned so much. Self-reliance, self-doubt, confidence, fear, panic. I've learned so much about the self. That you can learn new skills, especially when things go wrong and only you're around to fix the problems. I learned to become calm in a crisis. And I learned resignation. Always resignation. I couldn't change my situation, but I can and did get through it. Soon all will end and I will return to a normal life. Many things have gone right. I've relied on machines, computers to keep me alive. I appreciate technology a lot more now. I've had time to read, to exercise, to think, to write. I keep a journal now. Soon I'll be free, able to really stretch my legs and hug and hug and hug. I look at my watch. Nearly time. I'll take a last meal of mash, mince, peas, washed down with fruit juice. Oh, and a last chocolate bar. Mustn't forget my vitamin pill as well. Now, all is ready. All is tidy, packed away. Brace myself. The next few moments could be a bit uncomfortable. Oh, I'm shaking with anticipation. My heart's racing, temples pounding. I breathe deeply. Just a few more meters. I can do this. This is a step to freedom. I'm shaking violently. Then calmness descends. Suddenly, the door to freedom is wrenched open. Searing blindness greets me, temporarily blinding me. Hands reach out to steady my wobbling form as I stumble out to a brave new world. My journey alone is over. I hug and hug and hug. Hello, world. I'm back.
I saw him for the first time last night in a pub near the spaceport, and I knew there and then that I wanted him. I positively hungered for him. He stood just under 6 foot, with a gorgeous, strong, muscular build. He was magnificent, a delicious specimen of a man. Perhaps that shocks you. I know it shocks the locals. Last week I met a man and I could see he liked me. I talked to him and I smiled at him. But when he went to the bar to get us a drink, I saw a woman come over and whisper to him. Suddenly his face changed and he looked across at me. I could read his lips saying, "Her? She's that one?" He picked up the drink he had just bought and threw it in my face. Then he spat at me and told me to get out. I didn't run out, though. I walked out with my head held high before the barman could reach me to throw me out. And I vowed I wouldn't let them win. I wouldn't accept their petty bigotry about what I'm allowed to do. Next time, I will make sure no one gets a chance to spoil things for me. That's why I've come here to the main city. And it's the biggest and the oldest one on the whole of this planet. It's not as big as London or New York or any of the big cities on Earth, the ones that my mother told me about. But it's big enough for a person to lose herself in if she wants. I even altered my hairstyle and changed my glasses for contact lenses so no one recognises me from the TV or newspaper photographs. I want to stay here in the big city. I've spent so many years growing up with just myself and my mother. Now I want a real world with real cities and exciting places to go, not just a spaceship with only 2 people awake and everybody else in deep sleep until the end of the journey, or of course until my mother needed them. That's the only thing I don't understand about my mother, really. Why she should want to leave a big, exciting world like Earth. I think it must have been my father's fault, really, not hers. Don't remember much about him, although I did see him once on the ship, of course, but we saw almost everyone on the ship once, sooner or later. Perhaps I shouldn't say such things about him. After all, he is part of me now, but I'm sure it must have been his fault. Of course, my mother was young then, so I expect she wasn't as strong and determined as she became later. But she learnt to be strong, and she taught me to be strong. She taught me well, and I remembered everything she told me to do. I even watched when they took her away to the prison, and I said nothing. I did everything the social worker wanted me to do, and I was a good girl. After all, I was 15. In just a couple of years, I would be free to do what I wanted. I knew I could wait that long. For me, 2 more years were nothing. We had waited 6 years in the spaceship, just my mother and myself. She taught me everything I knew, and I know better than anyone that there was nothing she wasn't ready to do for me. When the ship left Earth and we were put into deep sleep, she made sure that we were put into the same double unit so that she could be near me in case something went wrong during the years it would take us to get to this new world. I was only 9 then, but I remember the nurse saying to her, "Don't worry, Mrs. Peters, nothing can go wrong. The next thing you know, you'll wake up and we'll all be there." Then she turned to me and made that stupid old joke about going to sleep like a fairy tale princess. Only she slept for 100 years, not 6. At least she didn't make the other stupid joke about being woken up by a handsome prince. She was wrong anyway, and my mother was right to take precautions. The deep sleep double unit failed only a few months into the journey, and we both woke up. My mother woke up first, and she had the hardest part of realizing that she was the only one awake. She told me that she nearly panicked until she saw the revival light on my half of the unit, and then she calmed down. She knew what she had to do. It wasn't easy for her. She was a catering expert, not an engineer. She didn't know how to repair the deep sleep unit or control the ship or how to call for help on the radio or anything. But she loved me, and she made sure that she used her skills to save my life and to save hers. She knew there was only one limited food supply, but she used it without any fear. She worked out how to make sure it would last until we got to the end of the journey, and she was right. I didn't like the idea of eating it at first, of course, but my mother helped me, and soon I didn't mind at all. Now, any other kind of food tastes insipid to me. and I want to eat some real food, just like my mother made for me. The people who rescued us took her away and locked her up for it. I saw their faces, and I knew that they really wanted to kill her. But I remembered how much she loved me, and I know that she was right, and that we're more important than them. After all, on a spaceship where everyone is supposed to be asleep for 6 years, obviously they aren't going to load much food supplies, are they? So if the only other thing on the spaceship is the sleeping people, what else could a mother do who loved them like mine did? It's not my fault, as I said, if a girl acquires a taste for something. And this man tonight, so muscular, so much beautiful, meaty flesh. He's going to be delicious.
Please, I said. I only need a minute. No, she said firmly, her eyes above the mask fixing me with a look that was more Attila the Hun than Angel of Mercy. I've left work early. I've come all this way. I won't stay long. I just want to see him. I promise I won't disturb him. I'll let him rest if he's asleep. One visitor only. That's the rule, she said. No exceptions. I know he's confused, and he probably won't know me, I said, but I know him. I've had a test. It was negative. I was lying. Not about the negative part, but about the test. He'd have told me off if he'd known. I said a silent sorry in my head. Please, please. I was begging now. I just want to say goodbye. She shook her head wearily. She must have heard the same story from hundreds of people pleading relatives desperate to spend their last final moments with their loved ones. Here's one care worker whose care was wearing thin through overuse. With sudden brisk efficiency, she turned away from me and back to the computer screen. I knew it was hopeless. I was being dismissed. A ball of frustration and despair rose from my stomach into my throat. I needed to get out of there, fast. I turned and ran blindly, almost colliding with a trolley pushed by a startled porter. My eyes blurred with tears. I couldn't read the signs. I found myself in a dead end. Why are these places so hard to get out of? I finally made it outside. Ripping the mask from my face, I gulped the cold night air, grateful for the coolness, the heat after the heat in the hospital. I leaned against a wall and felt a dam burst inside me. I know it's the right thing. I know it's the same for everyone, but I'm not everyone. I'm me. And he was my granddad.
All right then. Here she is. Been looking forward to this all week, and now it's finally here. Time for the first date. Deep breath. Oh, no, I can't do it. Oh God. Oh, what have I done? I'll have to make an excuse. I'm sick. No, you both got tested, you silly bugger. I'm out. Everywhere's locked down. Bloody lockdown. Thanks, Boris. The door's broken. Oh, well, let's come back to that idea. Oh God, it's still too real. I can't do this. Well, I mean, what if I've been in lockdown too long and I'm just broken? What if she realizes I'm rubbish and then we're just making polite conversation to cover how disappointing the whole experience has been? What if I just can't do it? You've been looking forward to this all week. She's here. She's great. And you owe her the chance to make her mind up. This could be really great. Let's come back to the door idea though.
Oh, hello. Sorry about that. I was just daydreaming. I was thinking of inventing a new shade of red, but never mind. It's just a pigment of my imagination. But actually, you've just caught me on a brief break from writing my latest book on how to fall downstairs. It's a step-by-step guide. It's a follow-up to my first book, which was all about anti-gravity. It's a great read. You just can't put it down. Now, the story I was going to tell you tonight was all about time travel, but apparently you didn't like it. So instead, I'll tell you a story about 3 friends of mine who recently got married. Now, this story popped into my head just the other day when my daughter had some friends round and she was showing them the family photo album. You see, they arrived as I was washing the car with my granddaughter and they asked me why I don't use a sponge like other dads. Now, I do want you to know, and I'm not just saying this for a bit of sympathy, but I've never really had much success with the ladies. Well, a bit of sympathy would have been nice. But anyway, I always remember the day that my dad, who, let's be honest, was a bit forgetful. Remember, this one day, he took me to one side and left me there. You know, it was 3 hours before my mum found me. But university, oh yes, now that was my courting days. See, I did a degree in inventing. And I remember I invented a pencil that had an eraser on both ends. My tutor said it was pointless though. I also invented a restaurant on the moon. All the food critics said that the food was absolutely out of this world, but there was just no atmosphere. But anyway, I remember I really fancied this girl who everyone said was psychic. But for some strange reason, every time I went to talk to her, she just walked away. But I did win the heart of my fine little lady when I wrote a song about her favorite food. You see, she loves burritos. I say a song, it was more of a rap really. But I digress. Back to the story. Yes, the story, that's what we're here for, isn't it? Well, you see, my daughter was looking through the family albums and especially on our wedding day. And I heard her turn to her friends and say, "This is the day that mummy came to work for us." Now, for some reason, that upset my wife. So to calm her down, I did the only thing I could. We went shopping. So off we went to Stockport because she had her heart set on this new jacket. One of those camo pattern ones. Well, anyway, we looked everywhere for a camouflage jacket. Couldn't find one. But we did see a TV on offer though for £10, which had a note on it saying that the volume was stuck on full. Well, I said, we can't turn that down. Well, by now, the good lady was fuming. I mean, we're talking Krakatoa and Vesuvius here. So when I made a perfectly innocent comment about her parking, well, she erupted. And that reminded me of the story. You see, I've got 3 friends, you see, and they all traveled the world and they met 3 lovely, lovely ladies who they eventually married. Now, my first friend, we'll call him Neil, just because really, he met a lovely Greek lady. And on their first night, he told her that it was her duty to do the dishes and to keep the house clean. Well, it took a couple of days, but by the 3rd day, he came home to find the house clean and all the dishes neatly cleared away rather than being smashed on the floor. Now, my second friend, and I do feel at this point, I do need to point out, I do have more than 3 friends. I've got 4. Anyway, he met a lovely French lady and he gave his wife orders to do all the cleaning and cooking as well. Well, the first day, he didn't see any results at all. But the second day was a bit better. And by the third day, he came home to a sparkling house and a sumptuous meal. Now, my third friend, he married a lovely girl from Levenshulme, and he ordered her to cook and clean as well. Well, the first day he saw nothing. The second day, he didn't see anything either. But by the third day, the swelling had gone down just enough so he could see a little out of his left eye. His arm had healed enough that he could make a sandwich and order a dishwasher. He still can't urinate though. Anyway, back to my book.
They're watching me. No, I'm not insane. They're watching me. Oh, look, you wouldn't understand. You can't see them. They're not invisible. Look, I know it doesn't make sense. I know it sounds crazy. Hear me out a minute. Have you ever wondered, just for a second, maybe when you're home all alone and no one else is around you and you have no one to talk to, that maybe you're not as alone as you think? What if they're constantly recording and waiting for you to slip up? But that's it. I always slip up. That's exactly what they want, to catch you at your worst. Forget about everything good you've achieved. One click, that's all it takes to disregard success and broadcast defeat. Oh, I knew you wouldn't get it. I knew you think I'm just paranoid. I wouldn't be saying this if I wasn't serious. I know it's hard to believe, but look around you. There's cameras everywhere, monitoring your every move, making sure you're not some kind of criminal at the shop, at the park, in the garden, in the street, and now in your own home. Look, honestly, I'm not trying to scare you, but they are watching us. I don't know who exactly, but believe me, whoever they are with us right now, listening, watching, waiting.
Life is so confusing lately. So many questions go unanswered. When is a bubble not a bubble? And how many people can it hold before it finally bursts? How big is a substantial meal? And what can you do if you can't afford one? What is a non-essential item? And who decides? What price a home? What price a job? What price a life? And why are some lives worth more than others? When someone says, "How are you?" why do you always say, "Fine"? Even though sometimes you're anything but. Why is it always someone else's problem? And who can we blame when we can no longer blame the EU? How many lies can one man tell before someone cries, "Enough"? If two wrongs don't make a right, then how many do? Why do we need to say that Black Lives Matter? Why is it not a self-evident truth? How many forests have to burn before we finally do something about it? How many species have to die before we realize it could soon be us? Is the answer really blowing in the wind? If so, it's blowing in the wrong direction.
I went for a walk today. Well, I say walk, I don't mean to the shop or out like that, because you wouldn't call that a walk, would you? No, more of what the Americans call a hike, but a bit of a slower pace and maybe not so far. I went with my friend who says I walk too fast, so I had to slow down a bit. Yes, I like going for walks. Calms the soul and releases those, what are they called? Those endomorphs, I think. You know, the things in your body that make you feel happy when you've achieved something. Mind you, I'm sort of shielding, so I can't go very far, and I don't want to use the buses too much. So I have to stick pretty much to the local cycle path in the country park. Still, you can get a lot of pleasure from walking there, even at this time of year. There are lots of squirrels about, and trees are lovely at the moment. All that colour, brown, red, yellow, and black. The leaves dangling, red leaves, yellow leaves, brown leaves. Really nice. And the other thing you find dangling from the trees are those lovely little black plastic bags all tied up in a nice bow. You know the ones full of dog mess. I think it's really good of those people to do this. You know, just to demonstrate how thoughtful they are, picking up their own dog's mess and letting us all know that they've done it. Yeah, I bet the people who clear it up have a really warm feeling every time they come across them. So anyway, yeah, another thing we saw today was a bee sanctuary. Now, I think a sanctuary is a very good thing, but some people don't. No, they say, if you let them stay and then they know it's safe and they can have a comfortable life, then you're only going to encourage more to come. And we can't cope because we're only a small island. But I say we need the bees as they're part of nature and they contribute a lot. Besides, I like a bit of honey. Anyway, another thing we saw was this banner outside someone's house. It said, City Council, stop the roadblocks and don't poison our children. Well, I was really shocked when I saw that. People think I'm really ignorant, that I don't know about these things. I didn't know the council had a policy on poisoning children. What's more, I didn't know they were setting up roadblocks to catch the children so they can poison them. After a moment of regretting my own lack of awareness, it suddenly clicked. It's probably to do with that lovely man, you know, Dishy, the Chancellor bloke, you know. It probably follows on from those other slogans like eat out to help out and what's the one? Oh yeah, starve a kid to save a quid. Mind you, after racking my brains, I couldn't recall a slogan for this idea. I don't know. What am I like? So I was saying about going for a walk. It's a lovely sunny day with a slight breeze. That breeze was just enough to cover up the smell of the sewage works. The smell of the works doesn't really go with the smell of the biscuit factory. It really spoils the hobnobs. Oh well. One little problem on our day out was the number of cyclists. Hundreds of them. Swishing past in helmets, wearing tight-fitting clothes. Cool, what you can see sometimes doesn't bear thinking about. Anyway, they go past really fast, not ringing their bells. Makes me jump every time. I know it's a cycle path, but they needn't take it so literally. Anyway, nights are drawing in now, so the walks have to be earlier in the day. And I'm not one for getting up early in the morning. I've never been good at getting out of bed. certainly at this time of year. That duvet is so warm and comforting. Duvets. We used to call them continental quilts. Still, I suppose they changed the name because of Brexit. Anyway, walking. I always feel good after a walk. You get a sense of achievement. I feel proud I allowed myself to get stuck at home. However, I'm not so happy today. Some really horrible kids were shouting terrible things at people. One or two people tried to talk to them and, but all they got was a hail of abuse. You can't do anything about it though, can you? Oh, wait a minute. Wonder where the nearest roadblock is.
Sorry about that. I must have dozed off. You see, I had a substantial meal at lunchtime. It was a Scotch egg and a large glass of vintage port. Anyway, what was I going to say? Yes, I was going to talk about aging and optimism and the virus and all that sort of thing. So I'll start off with a little quote from Bette Davis. She said, "Old age is not for sissies." By that, I think she meant old age must be met with fortitude and defiance. Now, that Welsh poet chappie used to be on the Home Service in the 40s. Now, come on, Chumley. Yeah. Like to drink. I know, Bob Dylan. That was him, wasn't it? No, hang on. No, I've got it. Sorted out the old mental filing system. Dylan Thomas, and he gave this advice to his father. Very good advice. In his little Welsh lilt, he said, "Do not go gentle into that good night. Rage against the dying of the light." My Auntie Marion, on the other hand, put it more prosaically. She used to say, and she was quite sort of genteel, she used to say, "Old age is a bugger," and then add with perfect timing, "but far better than the alternative." Anyway, she chalked up a respectable score of 96, just short of the century. One sweep to the boundary, and it could have been a wonderful innings, but 96 is pretty good. She declared, no, she didn't actually declare, but she declared, if you see what I mean, she declared that longevity could be put down to keeping cheerful, and also a large whiskey and soda and a packet of crisps every evening at 9 o'clock precisely. Now, my old mum, she lived to a respectable 89, despite suffering from various illnesses throughout her life, and in particular, she suffered from angina in the last 30 years of her life. But nevertheless, she went out every day, whatever the weather, for a brisk walk. And she'd chat to anyone, and she'd cheer them up with a sunny disposition and a dry sense of humour. Now, my Uncle Harold, what a character, if ever there was one. What a character he was. He was the optimist. He was like the court jester, always ready with a good joke and witty repartee. He actually gave up smoking at the age of 90, and we used to joke in the family that that was a big mistake because unfortunately he got skittled out at age 92. But they found a completed Guardian cryptic crossword by his bedside. So he had all these marbles. He was a wonderful, wonderful guy. But I must share with you a little anecdote about Uncle Harold, because when I was a tiny tot, I used to think that he was some kind of deity. We used to be dragged to church every Sunday morning, and I heard the vicar intone, "Our Father who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name." And I thought in my little tiny top's brain, well, if there is a God, then Harold is as good a name as any for that. Anyway, all these relatives of mine had one thing in common, and that was their positive attitude to life, no matter what it had to throw at them. After all, they went through genteel poverty, personal tragedy, Spanish flu, 2 world wars, and much more besides, and emerged with their optimism intact. Now, I heard somewhere recently, I didn't quite understand it, but someone said that optimists live 18% longer than pessimists, which is a good thing. And I'd like to think it's true, because optimists make the world a happier place for all of us to live in, including the pessimists among us. So the lesson is, and the advice is, if you want to enjoy a good innings, keep smiling and observe all the precautions, and don't get yourself caught out by the old COVID. Now, they say that the darkest hour is just before the dawn. Mind you, to be honest, I wouldn't know much about that, because I don't emerge from the old 4-poster till 11 o'clock most days. But yes, I'm sure that's true. The darkest hour is just before the dawn. And this has just been illustrated, because just as we were getting rather fed up with all the palaver about masks and self-isolation and etc., behold, just like the buses, 3 vaccines came at once. And this could mean the beginning of the end of the pandemic. Just think of that. Now, just another thing to remember, which is just as important. The light at the end of the tunnel may not necessarily be an oncoming train, but it could mean a brighter dawn and a happier future for us all. Anyway, if you'll excuse me, it's time for my siesta. So this is Chumley Tufton Beamish saying, toodle pip and take care.